Hey YouTube, Martin here. So I'm gonna show you how similar a fish can be to your pet dog. And after that, I'll get into some guppies and I'll show you guys a little bit about my guppies and a little bit about how I breed them. But before that, I want to show you something really cool. Well, not so cool if this happens to you, but it is kind of neat. When the fish does this, it kind of shows you what you need to do for them. And that's why my cichlid tank can actually change here. And that's why sometimes you'll see some decorations being moved around, as well as for the fact that I clean around my decorations. But also, watch this. So I just came home from work and I find my big Texas cichlid, who has now ran away into the corner and he's smiling. I didn't do it, but we all know it was you. I saw you there. So what he has done is he has knocked over my ship decoration. He has knocked over the palm tree, and he has loosened the heater as well, and simply because he wanted to get into that corner of the tank. So now I need to fix that up or leave it as close to what he did as possible, because it doesn't look too terrible. I like the way the ship looks. I have to find a way to weigh it down, and I like the aspect where he can actually swim around. And here's Max to tell him, "Hey, stop moving your stuff around, buddy." So anyway, to be serious, you want to leave, if your fish does this and you come home and you notice that your fish has moved things around, it's usually a sign that he wants more space over here, or he wanted to swim around a little bit more over there. So you have to work with it. You have to give in to the fish and not just put things back the way they were. But it's really cool. I will do what I can for him to make those decorations work. So let's leave that as another project I'll do on my own. For now, let's go talk about the guppy tanks. Let's go upstairs and I'll show you guys my tanks. I'll show you guys, there's only a couple of them, but I'll show you guys how I breed my guppies. Well, I'll talk about it, and I'll also show you some of the guppy tanks and some of the things I'm doing up there. Thanks for watching. Let's go upstairs. Today I'm going to discuss how I breed my guppies and basically how I work my tanks to be able to breed them and provide for them and give them clean water, what I do and how I do it, and how I separate them, what I'm after, and basically how I do it a little bit differently than some of the other guppy breeders, but not that differently than a lot of the other ones as well. So here we go. I'll show you guys around. Not too many tanks. I'm not a huge time breeder, but it is something of a hobby. I do a little bit, and so far it's producing guppies for me, and I love the idea of breeding your own fish. It's really cool once you breed a fish, like even as simple as a guppy, and watch it develop and turn into this beautiful, colorful fish. And I mean, anybody that's into guppies knows what I'm talking about. Guppies are absolutely beautiful. Now imagine if you breed your own how exciting it is when you finally see the guppy that you raised from a little tiny fry fish, right? There you are! I see you, you little guppy, you. Right? So, and the colors it gains, and if you continue breeding, it's so much fun. But I'll talk about guppies. Give me a second here. I'll let you guys look at some guppies. Okay, so I'll start with my guppy tanks and I'll count them out for you. I have one 10-gallon tank, a second 10-gallon tank, a third 10-gallon tank, and I'll get to this in a moment, why it's like that. This used to be a guppy tank, but it's not anymore. Here's a fourth guppy tank and a fifth guppy tank. So first I'll tell you guys how I breed them. When they breed, I automatically remove the fry fish, and I have a really cool little net that I use, and all I do is I scoop out the little fry and I gently move them over into this tank. Has actually, lucky enough for me, it has a nice big lid, and I just gently put them in, and then I watch them grow. When they breed and grow, like I'll show you guys, I have a bunch of little fry in here right at the moment that I gathered from various tanks. So I gathered them from different tanks and I put them in here for now. So when I do breed them out and they grow to a juvenile size that's just big enough to eat the tiny babies I keep putting in here, that's when I move it out. I look at the colors that best suit me, and then I move it out right away so it doesn't eat the rest of the little fry fish. So you will notice that I separate my guppies and I try to breed them as I want them in separate tanks. I try not to breed all different kinds of my guppies all together in one tank. I want to be specific on what kinds I breed in different tanks. I want to preserve some of the original breeding specific families and work off of them a little bit, but not completely mix them all together. So into the first tank here, I would move the tuxedo guppies. That's how I'm doing it right now. So it doesn't matter to me what color tuxedo guppy it is. The tuxedo is the black tux. You can see on this guppy, for example, the middle of it is a black tuxedo, right? That's where my tuxedo guppies, male guppies, go, and a couple of females. I always keep a good ratio of about 3-to-1 or 5-to-2. That's how I like to keep them, 5-to-2, 3-to-1. So I mean 3 males, 1 female. 5 males, 2 females. Something close to that is a good ratio to keep. You'll notice in my tanks, I have live plants at the top, and if I can get away with it, I'll put some live plants at the bottom as well. But I'm trying to stay away from the gravel as much as I can, even though half of my guppy tanks have it, but I'd rather go without it for now. The plants are key for your fry fish, which is your little baby guppies, to survive, because when a female is ready to, they're live breeders, by the way, and they do love a bit of a warmer temperature of water. So a couple facts about that. So the guppy was originally discovered in Thailand in 1866 by Robert John Lechmere. Now, the size of the guppies, the females can get up to about 4.5 centimeters big, and the male probably roughly 2.5 to 3.5 centimeters. No more than that. Let's see, what else do I have here? Females can breed up to 20 to 60 fry fish per month. So 20 to 60 little babies per month from the female. Also, they love temperatures between 74 to 82 degrees Fahrenheit, which is probably their best temperatures. I like to keep mine about 76 to 81. Now, they can actually survive somewhere between 50 to 60 degrees Fahrenheit, all the way up to about 84 degrees Fahrenheit, roughly 10 to 30 degrees Celsius. The pH levels for these fish are best at 6.5 to 8. When this female, for example, is ready to breed, she will have to hide somewhere to have her babies. Either she will have them at the bottom of the tank, but then the babies will have to hide somewhere. So I have plenty of leaf cover at the top for the baby or the mom and the baby to hide in when she's giving birth, or just the babies alone to hide in there. I do have good lighting on this right above the plant so that it grows and doesn't die. Even though it's floating, it's doing well. And just like in the tank, some leaves will go yellow on you. That's absolutely normal. As long as the majority of them stay green, that's what you're after. Like, look at this tank, for example. You'll see that there are plenty of leaves, and they're just all beautiful green leaves. Sorry about the glare. And plenty of places for them to hide. So in this tank, when I see a tiger guppy, I put them in here. And a tiger guppy is a guppy that has dots and a tiger leopard looking tail. So most of these guppies are yellow tiger guppies in here, and one red tiger guppy. And here's just a red male guppy. Now this one is an interesting one because he has some kind of a thickness to some of his tail, and it is not a regular looking tail. I love to put that on as you can see, he's got some kind of stripes, some kind of thickness. He's got a body of a tiger, but his tail is very unique. I've never seen a guppy like that before. I don't know if it's an actual breed or not. I found it at the pet store and I just thought it was odd and I had to have it. So this is where the tiger guppies go. And let's scoot over to the other tank. I'll talk about the bottom tank first. So here is where my black tuxedo guppies go, into this tank. And I'm actually at the point where I'm breeding a bit of a breed of my own in here. As you can see, the black tail has a bit of a yellow lightning streak through that male guppy, and I have a couple of them like that. And that's what I'm trying to develop. I want to develop that into some kind of a trait, something that I can call my own. And basically how that happened originally was a black tuxedo female and a couple males, and I had one yellow tiger guppy in the tank to produce those yellow lightning lines through the black tuxedo when the fry came out. Yay! Trying to perfect my own breed. And now I'm adding a different guppy in here. He's a yellow guppy. He's got a spot on there, so he's got a bit of an interesting tail. I'm gonna see what it does. Plus, I still have a lot of fry that came out of here from these. I call them lightning guppies. As you can see, that he's got a streak of looks like lightning on some of the other males that are hiding in the back. So these guys gave me quite a bit of fry fish. So what I do is, again, I move them into this tank. And then from this tank, if I have some less colorful guppies, like females, I would put them in this tank here. And I do have some males that go in here that are a little bit, you see the tuxedo on that male? It's a little bit less colorful. So I'm trying to kind of do a pale down on this, but still provide like a silver color. I'm trying to breed those out in there. And you're probably wondering by now why the water is low here. And if you've been following me and watching my other videos, there's a good reason. So my baby guppies, I don't know what it is, but they don't eat all the food I give them, and it always makes the water murky. So the bit of it is my fault. I want to make sure these guys are eating, and I don't want to underfeed them. So I overfeed them, and the water gets murky quite often. And when I did water changes on my fry fish, and as well as my guppy fish, when I do water changes, what happens is they're very susceptible to the water levels, especially in 10-gallon tanks. You will see a lot of guppies die on you because you're using a 10-gallon tank. Even though you have the water very well prepped or whatnot, they don't like water changes too much. You might notice that in your tank. If you're doing anything 50% or more on water change, then you might run a risk of losing a guppy here or there. To dechlorize your tank is what I'm getting at. Chlorine, you don't want that. That's bad, right? And it comes in tap water. So to remove the chlorine, you use a chemical. When you use too much, these fish don't like it. When you don't use enough, they don't like it. You have to also watch your temperatures. I keep mine roughly, my room temperature is about 76, 78. And why I say my room temperature is because I don't use heaters in these tanks. I don't use filters in my tanks either. I siphon the garbage out. Let me show you guys. I use a little tool here, and I take out the poop and any food. Plus, I always have one of these tiny sucker cleaning fish in my tank. The little guys, they don't grow bigger than this guy. That's the maximum size. And I have one in almost every single guppy tank because, as you can see, this is already getting dirty, and it was just water changed not that long ago. So that little guy, it is called a dwarf suckermouth catfish, but the actual name of it is called an Cichlid catfish. If you're ever looking for a tiny catfish, doesn't grow that large, that's for your guppy tanks or something like that. That's the name of that. Is an Cichlid catfish, right? So I have that. Plus, I have snails. I keep a lot of snails in my tanks. You'll see snails everywhere in all tanks, the guppy tanks that I have. And it's important to me because they clean a lot of things. They clean a lot of poop, a lot of the dead leaves. They do a lot. So now, because you guys probably did not watch my previous videos, I'll talk about what's in the back behind that divider. There is a pump in here that pumps the water out of this tank. Because these are adults, they're not as susceptible to water changes as the baby fry fish. So what I do is I put a pump in there, and it pumps the water out into this tank. And then I have another pump in the back of this tank, and it pumps the water out into this tank. So this whole time, these two tanks are sharing water, but it's set up that way so that the water slowly is removed out of this tank and goes into this tank. So basically, the water is being mixed together and it moves from there to there. That way I avoid using a lot of chemicals, because what I'll do, I'll keep this as pristine as I can, this water, and over the course of a week or so, I'll slowly do little changes, so the water is clean. And then I'll dump out half of this water, and I'll turn my pump on, both pumps on. And when I did that, this is filtering over to here and mixing the two waters, right? So eventually, this clean water will be here, plus half of this will be mixed with clean water as well. So it'll be technically a 75% water change. And if I leave it running more, it'll probably get to 80% before I shut the pumps off. So it'll cycle the waters through together with this tank. And that's key because I'm not putting any chemicals in, right? Once this is full, it filtered over from that tank into this tank. Then I can add on new water in here and put some dechlor chemical in here. But this water that went in here would have been something that took a week to kind of get over the chemicals and had time to get established before it moves over. So that's how I keep my guppy fish safer than they would have been if I just tried water changes on this tank, because like I said, I overfeed and I find that they're very susceptible to dying as soon as you do any water changes, any drastic changes. They do not like it. So that's how I breed my guppies. I will do it in several tanks. I'll move them out, put them in this tank, then I set up a system to mix the two waters plus overflow in here. Once that's topped up, I will then put water in here, and then every time I'll make sure this water stays clean for the whole week. I'll watch this tank, see how long it needs before I do another water exchange, I would call it, versus a water change. I would call it a water exchange. So those are the key points. Like I said, these guys are live breeders. They're absolutely beautiful. You can see the little guy in the back that cleans, that little suckerfish, little guy cleans that tank. And now that I have the water qualities down packed on my tanks, I can now put in some decorations, make them look nice for you guys, and as well as for myself. When I walk around the fish room, it's absolutely wonderful to see beautiful decorations. Now this is just getting started. This one's already started. This one's just getting started. I just started on this one too, to add some decorations in here. This one already had decorations, but because they gave me so many fry fish, I have a lot more green cover in here. They gave me a lot of these black tuxedos babies. I haven't cleaned this out as much because I don't want to disturb whatever is going on in that tank. It's working and I don't want to touch it, right? So let me get back to what I said originally. And what I said is I don't run a filter on my tanks. Because these are tiny 10-gallon tanks, I have no need for a filter because I do plenty of water changes every week. Every week I change the water to about 50%. So again, um, you gotta love guppies, right? They come in different varieties, different colors, all sorts, and there's too many names to mention at once for all of them. So stay tuned and watch how my little guppy tanks progress. I'll keep you guys updated every once in a while. I have um, a lot that I want to do with those guppies, and a lot that I want to. It's not just the like if you guys watch my videos, it's not just the decorations. That's a huge part of what I'm doing. Is I want to showcase all the art aspect, but I also want to raise a couple of really nice fish. And you guys would have seen I'm already trying to do something with neons and a couple other tetras. So I'm expanding from guppies to something else, not because I want to be a breeder, but I would like to try and breed them. And in the future, if I can learn and do good, maybe I can move on to a couple tetras. I would love to breed a non-live breeder fish. So that's my next goal after I get my guppies going. I want to be able to breed a non-live breeder fish, something that lays eggs. And my other tank you guys would have seen, we have discus fish there that do that, and they're breeding all the time. But I want to do the little fish, the tetras, the little guys, the guys that I can put in my community tank that you guys would have seen, my 30-gallon tank, and I'll show you that tank right there. That's the tank I'm talking about. So if you guys seen that tank, that's probably um, the best place for me to add a couple little tetras that I would have raised at this point. Oh, and just say hi to Max, everybody. He's right here with us and happy to be here, having a good morning, eating his seeds and raisins. He loves seeds and raisins, and yeah, he's quite a big part of my fish room. You guys see the tree over here. That's his toy. He loves it. All right, thanks for watching, guys. Good luck with your fish tanks, and yeah, everything's important. And like everybody says, if you love certain fish, just specialize your tanks for those fish and showcase them. Like I'd love to watch some videos. You don't have to have every single fish. I love cichlids. That's why you are watching my Martin's cichlid fish tank. I love cichlids. That's going to be a big part of my videos. I also love tetra fish. I absolutely adore them. And I love guppies. And I do like other fish too, bottom feeder fish. There's all sorts of fish I love. But I'm trying to now specialize a little bit into guppies, tetras, and cichlids. That's what I want to showcase for you guys. I want you guys to see me working on those and provide you some information, some cool videos, and what I'm doing, what I'm up to. So hopefully you like it, and yeah, follow along. Thanks very much. Good luck.